Patrick here. I get a lot of questions about how to set up a calendar the right way and what kind of things that you should do. And I'm going to give you some tips and tricks that I use to make my calendars work. This calendar, meetpatricksmith.com, I've been using for about 3 years, and it's kind of down to a science. I have a web page like this with the calendar embedded right in the page. This is what the consumer is going to see on the calendar portion. It's nice if I'm a consumer that I can see when I click on a button to go schedule something, I can recognize that I'm in the right place. I have an image of the thing that I want to be doing. I have some description of what's going to happen, and I can see what the next coming available dates are. I'll show you a couple other calendars to give you an example. So here's a calendar for when people are setting up Social Post Wizard, one of my other products. You can see it's got the logo, the idea, some information to help them feel like they're in the right place, doing the right thing. This is another thing that we do when we're auditing a business. What you're going to do that is you're going to come over to your calendar. When you log in, you're going to come to the calendar button here on the left. You're going to go to where it says calendar settings. This is where you start modifying it. At first, this may be empty, or it may have a default one that came with what we call snapshot, the thing that we gave you when you started your program. If we go to new calendar, you can see there are multiple types of calendars. Most of the time, you're going to be on this personal booking calendar. That's what I use the most. But you may have a sales staff where you want the appointment calls to be round robin. In other words, it goes to multiple people. You may have a thing where you want to create a class where you're going to teach a course and you want multiple people to show up at a specific time, or you might have multiple hosts for one particular event. And down here, you've got event types and service bookings. Service bookings are really for things like repair shops, spas, consultations, places where you have lots of different kinds of things that they could pay for in advance and have a booking there. You can see up at the top, we've got calendars, which shows all of your calendars. We've got service menu. If you had a service business, let's say you had a med spa and you wanted to have multiple rooms, room 1, room 2, room 3, could have their own calendar. Once I've chosen what kind of calendar that I want, I'm just going to grab this one because it's convenient. In here, what we're going to do next is make sure that we click to add our image. We're just going to click here to upload our image either from the media storage file here inside MyBizSuite or upload it from your system. Down here is the name of the calendar. That's the thing that's going to show up right here. This is the description area, and this is just a typical WYSIWYG editor. You're just going to come in here and type whatever you want to say. I would suggest you say things that help people, again, recognize why they're here. Thanks for choosing Social Post Wizard to create and manage your social posts. Your post will be amazing. Now let's get your profile connected and refine your account. I'm telling them what they're going to have happen. Pick a convenient time to review your marketing on it. We'll meet via Zoom, so please be ready to the meeting with your smartphone, PC, etc., in a quiet location where you can focus on the results. Or maybe something like this one where I just say, schedule your success call here. Please, let's talk about your business, your goals, and get your questions answered. Next, you're going to come down here and you can create a custom URL here if you want. Most of the time, you don't need this, okay? We might just call this calendar 1 just to make it simple, okay? And see if, oops, can't use it as an equal sign. There we go. Just keep typing something until that turns blue instead of red, okay? In here, this is the title for the calendar meeting as it shows up in the list view of your appointments and in third-party calendars. So whatever I type here is what's going to show up in the invite title in a Google Calendar or an Outlook calendar or whatever the other person is using. A lot of times when I'm doing this, I'll use these little squirrely brackets are custom fields, links, and the contact name is obviously the person who is booking the appointment. The location name is your name in the sub account that you're in. So if your sub account is MyBizSuite.com, or MyBizSuite, that's the name of your business, it's going to show up here as my location name. You can also come in here and choose other custom values that you may want to add into that. The simplest thing that I found to do is to use a value that is related to what that post is about. Like in this case, I said the contact's name space, let's get your Social Post Wizard set up. So when they go into their calendar, they know right off the bat what's going to happen. They don't go, who is that and why did I book with them and what the heck is going on? That's what you're going to use this area for. Let's switch back over to a calendar that's not a round robin calendar so it doesn't look so confusing. If we come back into this, this is a personal calendar instead of a round robin calendar or a class booking calendar. In this one, you can see just one thing here. There's only one team member selected. And then I can come in here and use any of these things that I want to use for a meeting location. When you set up your business in your sub account, you probably have your Zoom already set up. And that's what I use 95% of the time. I just click that button and then my Zoom gets turned on. But because this is a demo, you won't see it. We'll show it to you over here in my real live calendar. If we come down in here, you can see how I can come in here and just say, okay, make that happen in my Zoom location. And it knows what my Zoom location is. I didn't get that little red thing up there. On availability, there's just me. Now, this is a kind of a relatively new thing. Now, when you're booking your availability, you can come in and modify what your availability is. You can choose the work hours that are set up in your calendar and or edit them here, or you can come in and have a custom schedule here. In this case, this schedule is set up for 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, Pacific time. Now, if I wanted to edit that, maybe I wanted this to be 9 to 5, something like that, okay? I can actually click this button right here and just copy that to all of these other dates so I don't have to sit here and try to type them all in. And now you can see it automatically changed those to the same time, okay? I decided Friday, I wanted to be done by 3, I could do that. I could say, do something like that, and then just hit save. So now I've edited the main working hour. If you decided you wanted to work only specific dates and time, then we use this for class bookings when we're making a class up. You can come in here and edit this and just type in a specific set of hours and then turn off these and leave these on. That's how you get specific hours. If you decide you want to just look busy because you don't really have a lot of appointments, but you don't want to have 900 slots open, that makes it look like nobody wants to talk to you, you can come in here and say, hey, I want to be busy 50% of the time, and it will hide 50% of your appointments. I don't use that, but you could. You could set it up as a recurring meeting, but I would say be really, really careful of doing this. If you create a recurring meeting and you set it up, it's really hard to delete the appointments because it created all of these. Once somebody's made a recurring meeting, they all go into your appointment calendars, and you can't bulk delete them at this point in time. I think they're working on that, but it's a pain. I kind of don't use that. Meeting intervals, that's the space and time between what you see on your calendars, like 11 to 11:30, 12 to 12:30. The meeting duration of schedule and notice, I always make this at least 12 hours, okay? I'm okay with having somebody book me out tomorrow, but I don't want them coming in today at 8 in the morning and expecting me to meet them in 2 hours because I've got too many things going on in my life and I can't immediately rebook. So if it's 12 hours, I know they're going to be able to book me the next day because my booking, they can't book me before 8 o'clock anyway. So if it says 12 hours, even if they booked me at 3 in the afternoon, they tried to book an appointment for 3 in the morning, it wouldn't work. So this is the one that I use that gives me the most flexibility that I like. And date ranges, I like to keep people uptight, close-in dates. I don't like them booking out 2 months in advance because if I put this out 60 days later, there's a really good chance they're going to forget why they even made the appointment. So I like to make this a shorter period of time, and my standard is 14 days. The maximum bookings per day is just a thing that says how many of these kind of appointments do you want to do in a day. If you don't care, leave it blank. If you want as many as you can get, great. But if you had 5 different kinds of appointments, like you had an appointment for you had this appointment type and this appointment type, and you only wanted to do this one appointment type that I'm doing here twice in a day, you could just put 2 there. This is the number of people who can show up at this appointment. And 99% of the time for me, it's 1 person. Because if I make this 2, and somebody books an appointment and somebody else comes in later that has nothing to do with the first person, they could book the same time and not have both of those people at the same time. Now, obviously you're going, oh, well, what happens when there's 2 people that I want to meet at one time? I can always do a guest thing, and I can always create a different kind of an appointment where I can have multiple people on that same call. That way I know it. Pre-buffer time means before the appointment starts. So if my appointment was going to start at 11 a.m., okay, if I had something else going on at 10:30, I would see it. But if I had something else going on at 10:45, it would be blocked. So if I put 30 minutes here, I wouldn't be able to see that 11 o'clock appointment if I already had an appointment booked at 10:45. What it's saying is it's given me a buffer before the appointment for me to get ready for it. I always do 30 minutes. And I almost always do 30 minutes after an appointment because I want to have a few minutes after the appointment to be able to sit down and get things done that the person was talking to me about, make sure I sent them a quick email or did a follow-up or made my notes. So that's my standard. The forms area is standard, comes with a default form, which is first name, last name, email, phone number, and notes. Okay. Those are the forms that come standard. Every time you make one of these calendar appointments, it's going to default to that. For most people, that's fine. But let's say you're doing a request for something, you're doing something where there's like an audit. I guess I don't have one on that one, but let's say you were doing, I know in Meet Patrick Smith, I've got one. So in here, the form is called Meet Patrick Smith or Meet with Patrick. That's my form. That form has a bunch of things on it that are related to this phone call. If it was going to be one of my virtual coffee chats that I'm doing, like with an alignable meeting, it would be that form, which I collect different kinds of information depending on what the form is. So the default and the default widget order, in other words, when they open this up, the first thing that they see is the date and time. And then when they select the time, it goes and asks them a bunch of questions. And then here's where the form's at. Okay. It could be that way. Or you could say, no, I want this to work with the form first. I want to fill out the form first and then pick the date and time. So you get to choose which way you want the person to visualize what's happening. Section here, pre-populate fields with sticky context. Always turn that on. Well, the only time I don't turn that on is when I'm testing, because it can get kind of weird when I'm testing. If I'm just throwing in default fake names and stuff, then all of a sudden I messed up my contacts. What this does is when someone is already in my system and comes to try to schedule an appointment with me, then that person is going to be automatically have their data populated in the form so they don't have to put it in. This gives them a checkbox that allows us to get consent from them to be able to use their phone number for booking purposes. And this is if we wanted to allow the attendee to add multiple attendees to the same appointment. So if you wanted to have that one person book a call, but that person could add a guest, okay, then you could do this. I've never done that, but it is a possibility. The confirmation page is just a default page. Thank you for your request. We'll get back to you shortly. Now, this I modify typically a little bit because what it says is we'll contact you shortly to confirm your request. When I make these appointments like here, the confirmation is already happening. We auto confirm the meetings. I don't need that. I don't typically use that at all. Something you might think about is what kind of confirmation message you want to send out. If you're going to do this kind of a message here, you want to make sure that this is the right language. Like, please call our office at, you might want to just put your phone number in there, or please contact us at, and put the email, etc. You can also just redirect it to a URL that you already have. Maybe you have a different thank you page that you want to send them to. You're just going to put that URL there. I don't track Metapixel ID. So if you have Meta and you want to do that and you want to track those IDs, you can do that here. Again, I auto confirm all my calendar meetings right here. And you can accept payments. This is a demo account, so there's no payment set up, but you could click this button and say, I'm going to charge for this meeting. Now, this is the part that most people skip. Notifications are important. I kind of leave the in-app stuff here as it is, because since I'm automatically confirming the stuff, I know the appointment's confirmed. It's going to pop up on my phone. Now, if you're a person who loves to get a text message whenever somebody's going to book a call, you could do that. You could come in here and enable this. You could enable it so that it goes and tells them your appointment's confirmed. Well, they're going to get a thank you anyway, but you could do that. Or let's say you don't care about that, but you want to know. So you want to send yourself a text message. I could do that because whoever the assigned user is for this sub account is going to get that message. Now, you could also have a specific phone number that you always use that you want that message to go to. And that's where this additional phone numbers come in. So I could just put a default phone number in there. Maybe my cell phone, because the number I have in the system is not my cell phone. That would be one way to use this. This is a demo account, so it doesn't matter. You're just going to enable and disable each of these things in here. So for every action here in this long box, the action is exactly the same in that you come in this case, alerts when an appointment is canceled. Well, maybe I want to turn the email on for that. I want to make sure that the customer knows they got canceled. I'm going to put in my from name. So this is where you'd put your name here and your email address. I'm assuming this is coming from you. And again, you could modify this if you want to. 90% of the time I don't. Again, you're the assigned user, so not much you have to do here. That's just going to come to you anyway. Okay? If you want to come in and send yourself text messages, same things. Enable the text messages. Make sure that you've got additional phone numbers if you want them in, just like I just finished explaining to you. In this section on rescheduling is exactly the same as cancellation. It's just when an appointment is rescheduled, they're going to get that message. The reminders are kind of handy in that this is where you can come in and either by all of these things, you may or may not have WhatsApp turned on for your system. There is an extra charge for that because WhatsApp charges for it. But you could have your reminders by email, inside the app, text message, or all of the above. Again, let's say we wanted email. It's exactly the same as what we just looked at, but now the contact is going to get a message based on what we set up here. So in this case, they have a message that's going to go out 10 minutes before the appointment starts. Maybe I think that's too early. Maybe I only want to do that 1 hour before. And then maybe I want to make sure that they get an appointment 1 day before. So you can see all I did was I hit add more, and I can keep adding notifications as many as I want. My typical scenario is 1 day, 1 hour, and 10 minutes. That's just kind of how I build mine out. If you have an email template that you'd like to use, you can pull that in here or go ahead and modify this one. And again, your from name, your from address, the assigned user gets the same thing. You can see they're on a different schedule. So we just did the contact. They did that. Now the assigned user, now the assigned user, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add in their schedule of what kind of notices that we want to do. And if there was an additional email, somebody else we wanted to keep informed about this, we would just come in here and type in their email address here and do the same thing all over again. So that's how you set up all of those things. The follow-up message, I don't use this, but it goes right along with exactly the same as all the rest of this. I would really spend some time looking at this follow-up message and make sure it fits what you want. This one just says, thanks for attending the appointment. We'd love to hear your feedback. And then they can reply here. If you were going to do that, you could use this follow-up message to ask for a review and put your review links in here. That would be a really good example of how to use that. I almost always check this box. I want to allow the people to modify stuff in their calendars and get updates. I don't have team members, so I don't worry about this, but if you had team members, you may want to look at that. And this is a piece that some people may or may not like this, but what this is about is when this is enabled, the link for them to be able to reschedule. So in the calendar reminders, it's going to say, hey, if you need to reschedule, click here. So we're going to go up here and look at our calendar, our appointment in here. You can see this is our reminders that's going out to them. Here's your reminder. Here's the details, date, time, meeting links, and they will get automatically. It doesn't show it here. I thought it would show it in here, but they will get a thing that says, do they want to reschedule? You can have this turned on so you can allow rescheduling, But that link for rescheduling expires. I like to expire this 1 hour before the meeting. My personal belief is my time is as valuable as yours, and don't bail on me the last 2 minutes. It's really frustrating for me. So I might do 1 hour before the meeting, then that link will no longer be available in their calendar when they get their calendar. And as far as canceling the meeting, I typically do that 1 day before. So this is my standard that I use. You can use whatever you like. Here's a default thing that says, what to do when they get a note. Do you need to make a change? Reschedule. You don't have to do anything with this. Ignore it. Leave it alone.